Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know if in the back you need me to speak louder. But I'm really excited to talk to you today about why good storytelling will close your next round. So you're probably not a stranger to the fact that corporate storytelling is on the rise. It's become this new buzzword almost. There are so many job postings out there that are startups in particular are looking for this. But in case you were believing that it's just hype, it is in fact a documented phenomenon. The Wall Street Journal reported in December last year the percentage of LinkedIn job postings in the US that include the term storyteller have doubled. So there are now some 50,000 listings under marketing and more than 20,000 under media and comms with this word in the title. This is all according to LinkedIn data. But that's funny news to me because I guess I've been one of these corporate storytellers my whole career. I'm trained as a journalist. I used to work on the digital news desk at CNN before switching to editorial roles at startups. I also spent 2.5 years on the marketing team at First Round Capital. It's home to one of the best performing venture funds in history. Think Uber, Square, and Roblox all in the same fund. And I got to see dozens of the best pitch decks come through. But more importantly, I got to see how the partners talked about what made them compelling. And now at Rippling, I continue some of this work by interviewing founders and VCs for my newsletter, First Principles. So again, I'm not a VC, but I spent a lot of time learning how they think, and I'm here to tell you what they're looking for in a story. But just to do like a quick show of hands, I'm curious who in this room has fundraised before? If anyone? Yeah, some people. Or if you've never raised before, is anyone here considering maybe starting their own thing one day? Yeah, definitely. Well, great. It doesn't really matter if you are a founder raising or you're thinking of one day, even if you're a hiring manager, if you're in sales, if you're pitching yourself for a new company, if you're a human being, there will be a benefit to mastering the art of storytelling. But how did this truly ancient job description, it's like not going through. But how did this truly ancient job description that's more commonly used to describe novelists, playwrights, and filmmakers become so popular in tech? It's because it's become one of the only ways to make your company stand out. Here's some evidence of that. So according to Crunchbase data, we now know that 58% of all venture funding went to mega rounds of $500 million or more in 2025. OpenAI and Anthropic alone took home $80 billion worth of all venture funds last year. So the money may be out there, but it's pooling at the top. And on top of that, the growth rate of startups has doubled. The average AI company has hit unicorn status twice as fast as previous tech eras. And as a result of this competitive environment, VCs have raised the bar. Harsh Tagger, the managing partner at Y Combinator, told me he's now looking for companies to hit $1 million in ARR in just 6 months instead of 12. This is an almost unthinkable milestone from even 2 years ago. So with 80% of the top VCs saying that they'll reject a startup due to a lack of differentiation, standing out does indeed matter. And storytelling is the best way to do that. It's the best thing, more importantly, you have in your control. The learning curve to push code and create software has almost reduced to a flat line with tools like Claude Code and Codex and Cursor. So having a clear, strong, and defensible way to position yourself and your startup will make you stand out in a fundraise. So to put it in another way, without a good story, there's really nothing separating you from Joe Schmo, the founder working in the WeWork down the street, vibe coding the exact same thing as you, except there's a chance that he could sell it better, which is why you must focus on the narrative arc that you have to yourself before you step into any partner meeting. And I want to cover the one way I believe is fundamental to unlocking that. And that is the importance of your personal why. So I spoke to a dozen different investors for this presentation, and they all brought this up. It's the first thing they're listening for when they hear a pitch. They want to know why a particular founder is the right person to solve the problem, not just if the problem is worth solving. To hammer this home, I want to share a story from Carlos Perez-Pla. He's the principal at Plug and Play Ventures. Carlos, like many other VCs, organize events where founders can come and they can share their pitch decks and get live feedback in the process. At this particular event that Carlos is referring to, there were winners, but he estimates at around 40% of the companies that he saw that day, 75% of those used AI to generate their decks from top to bottom. And he does want to clarify that this is fine to use AI. It is a tool. It's meant to save you time. However, when I asked him what the pitches were stripped of, he said it was their personal why. The winners, in his opinion, all stood out because the founders displayed real authenticity, they had unpolished parts, they had an intensity that shone through, and that really created a passion and compelling narrative that won him over compared to other decks that seem more stale. So how do you bring your personal why to a tactical level? Well, I want you to think of your favorite book or an article or a video you just watched. There's probably a layer of authenticity from the creator that helps you resonate with it, whether you realize it or not. And so you want the tale that you are being told to feel real. And a startup pitch is no different. Remember, if you've lived the problem, you're already more likely to understand nuances that others don't. You're motivated more than others to stay through within the hard parts, and you should absolutely highlight that. And you can build something that actually solves what you say you will. These are the things that VCs are looking for in your personal why. So when you're structuring your pitch, don't bury your founder story, you should lead with it. I want you to meet a founder who I think excels at this. This is Varun Puri. He's the CEO and co-founder of Udly. Udly is an AI-powered speech technology. So think about rehearsing for a sales call in particular. Udly's technology almost works as a de facto AI coach. It would assist you and help you mirror what you're practicing. Varun came to this particular problem because he's lived it himself. He grew up in India. He moved to the US for the first time in college, and that was the first time he really experienced public stage fright for the first hand, especially when speaking in a new language. His winding career eventually landed him up at Google, and because he had practiced so much with his public speaking, he became a sort of de facto speech coach for executives there. It led him to realizing there's a problem out there, and there's a set of the population that struggled with the same things he did. But a quick tip here, there's many a time to say your personal why, but I do think the best time to do it is before you even step into a partner meeting. So by the time you're likely showing a pitch to anyone, you've probably already had multiple conversations with a VC or their point partner. So I've seen a lot of founders have success if they're sharing their personal why at these meetings without a deck ahead of time. This helps them get into the room where they can share their deck later. So Varun was actually gracious enough to share the actual deck he used to raise his last round, and I want to go through some standout slides where he's connecting his personal why and sequencing it in a way that ended up helping him raise money. So of course you want to start out by just simply explaining what you're building and who you're building it for. But this here is the golden slide to me. Varun has already established before he walked into the room his personal why, but he makes it extremely clear that he has found a large set of the population who struggle with the same problems with him. And because he's already established that he's lived through this struggle, it tees up his next slide really well, and that is that he's found paying customers to actually solve this problem for him. I think another quick note to share is that Varun doesn't just use his personal why in VC meetings, he uses it in customer calls, and the evidence is kind of paying off. Whether you are investing your money in something or you're going to choose a company or join a new startup, you want to feel connected and related to the person telling you what they're going to do. And so as you can see, growth quickly paid off for him. And in a money tangible way, Udly raised a $40 million Series B in December 2025. But I wanted to go a bit deeper into why exactly VCs were so interested in Udly, so I reached out to one of Udly's investors for this conversation. This is Daniel Lee. He's a partner at the Seattle-based Madrona Ventures, and he told me what initially attracted them to Udly was Varun's story. Daniel thought it was interesting that as a non-native English speaker, Varun lived the problem enough he set out to solve. And then slowly, as the VC learned who was using the product and they figured out the vertical he found, a sales role play, was huge. And there were customers who wanted to practice this and were willing to pay money. This was the sequence that ended up letting them sign a term sheet. So Udly really had this perfect combination that set them apart from any competitor in the space. But as we wind things down here, I think there are founders and advisors out there that might tell you, oh, sorry, I'm going to skip through some of these slides. Okay, there are some founders and investors out there that may tell you that it doesn't matter at early stages like seed or Series A to really differentiate yourself. That may have been true for the past fundraising cycles, but what you see on here and on screen is the results from a survey that Rippling ran with over 50 VCs. We asked them what they're specifically looking for in pre-seed and seed startups that they evaluate. And as you can see, they're really granular. They're looking at things like proprietary data access, how deep they go with customers, a unique go-to-market motion. You can think of these things as building blocks to your story. These should supplement your personal why. So you have the why you that you lived, and then of course tacking these on, and if you have paying customers, even better, will help you in the end get your pitch over the finish line. And this is just another quote from Kevin Zhang, a partner at Bain Capital, who hammers this home. He in particular is looking for things like network effects and proprietary data as being sort of like the source of truth that he's looking for. So again, just to recap what we've covered today, the bar to fundraise has gotten higher than ever. Storytelling is the moat that you have in your control. And I think the best way to execute this is to lead with your personal why. If you're looking to keep exploring on this topic, I think a great example of combining a deep expertise in the space you're building in, some of these proprietary data things, and a personal why is Rippling's own Series A memo. I think it's from 2018, and it helped raise a $45 million Series A. I have linked it on screen if you want to take a look. We've published it word for word. I also wanted to share the results of the VC survey that we conducted, and we go much deeper than just what they're evaluating for at a startup. They commented on hiring trends, on different ways that they're seeing companies build, and what roles they're even starting to let go.